Good. Now we are resuming what we began yesterday, and the question the Rebbe asked is: the Jewish people, they count, they are compared to, and they count their months and their dates according to the moon. And the future redemption is going to be like it says, like the moon. And when King Solomon was the king, that was something like the future redemption. It says that the moon was full. Kaima Siora Bishlemuta. It's in Aramaic. So the moon was full. And even the arrival of the Moshiach, it says, is going to be like the new moon, the first sliver of the moon when things are getting bigger. Everything is in front of us. It's all positive. It's all good. So now you have to remember here that the Rebbe is trying to stress to us that how important the physical world is, and that the world is always sending us messages. The world is sending us messages about how to serve God and about what reality is and what truth is and what good is, what meaning is, what love is. The world, the physical world, and not just in general, but every detail. The divine is in the details. God is in the details. So every little detail is coming to send us something important. How much more so if it's a detail which is in the Torah, or a detail which is connected to the Jewish people directly. So the Jewish people, they count according to the moon. So that's important, right? That must be important. Everything is important, but this must have a special, unique importance. Okay. So here we have a Jewish holiday which is mainly only celebrated by Chabad. Soon it's going to be celebrated by all the world. And that's the holiday of Yud Kislev. Yud Kislev is the holiday when the first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison. Now, the first Rebbe of Chabad was an individual person. He lived over in, where was it, in White Russia, in Belarus, whatever it was, in a town called Lyazne. And he was a person, he was put into prison, and he got out of prison. And how many people does that happen to? Unfortunately, millions of people. They get put into prison, they get put into prison, they're innocent, they get out miraculously good. It happens. But here, the first Rebbe of Chabad is a little bit different because he was a special type of a person. Something like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were special people, and everything that happened to them was very special. So the first Rebbe of Chabad was put into prison by his enemies, religious people who didn't like his teachings. They realized his teachings were too powerful, and they thought that they were powerfully bad. It was just too revolutionary, his teachings about how to bring Moshiach and what the Jewish people are, etc. And because of that, they slandered him to the Russian government. And the Russian government, which at that time was the Tsar, they put him into prison. And after 53 days of interrogation, so they realized he was a very holy person. They were very impressed by him, and they let him out. When did they let him out? Yud Kislev, the 19th day of Kislev. Now, the 19th day of Kislev, that's after the middle of the month. The middle of the month is when the moon is full. Moon is full is a good thing. All the days afterwards, there's some people in Judaism, there's some people that they don't get married the second half of the month ever because it's not a good sign. The moon is getting small. And they got a point. The moon is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The moon is getting smaller. Means that the Jewish people are shining less and less. They're less and less, but not good. Not good. It's not a good sign. Right? Everything in the world is a sign to teach us how to serve God. And the moon getting smaller is a sign that it's possible that the Jewish people should, how do they call it? Wane, waxing and waning, get smaller and smaller. Not good. So how can it be that this holiday, when the first Rebbe of Chabad was freed, it's such a happy thing that it comes in the second half of the month? Not only that, all of the holidays in Judaism all come on the first half of the month or in the middle of the month, with the exception of Hanukkah. We'll talk about that later. All of the holidays, Pesach, Sukkot, comes in the middle of the month when the moon is full. Shavuot is in the beginning of the month, right? The 6th day of the month. Even Purim, That's it. That's all the holidays. They all come in the beginning of the month. Chanukah comes in the end, true. But here also Yud Tet Kislev comes in the end. Why did God arrange it that way that it comes in the end? So it says, okay, now we're going to explain. Because not only is Yud Tet Kislev a good day, it's the best. It's the best day. It's the ultimate holiday. It's called the Chag HaChagim. It talks pure, not what God did. It's talking about pure God. Pure godliness. Pure godliness is how God gets pleasure from what we do. That's Yud Tet Kislev revealed. So let's go. So why does it fall in the second half of the month? What is the lesson to us? And it has to be a very potent lesson because this is a very potent day, very powerful day. Okay. It says, Bira Dvar, the explanation of this whole thing. What's the explanation? Excuse me 1 second. Okay. What's the explanation? The explanation is like this. Sibat Hashinoi, the reason for the change, between Chetzi of Arishon, the first half of the month, that from day to day, the moon gets bigger and bigger, and the second half of the month, when from day to day, the moon gets smaller and smaller, is because on the first half of the month, the moon gets further from the sun. Therefore, Ubakal, and the more it distances itself from the sun, then the face of it, right, the face of the moon is toward the sun. We see the face more. The face is bigger and bigger because the moon gets further from the sun in relation to the earth. Ubechetzav Hasheni, in the second half of the month, the moon gets closer to the sun. In other words, the face of the moon gets facing the sun more, closer to the sun. The back of the moon is to us. The kol shemit karevis, the more that it gets closer to the sun, then the light which we receive is less. Talmud Dvar, the reason is, lefi, because shehayachas, that the relationship between the giver, which is the sun, and the receiver, which is the moon, is in a way that when the receiver, the moon, is near to the giver, the sun, then the receiver can't give over to others because it is totally surrendered to the giver. So when the moon is close to the sun, it's so occupied in receiving that it can't give. And the more that the moon distances itself from the sun, then the less it receives, so to speak, from the sun, and the more it's able to give over to us. Huh? So in other words, the first half of the month is stressing the distance of the moon from the sun. And consequently, it has it's stressing its ability to give over to us. To give, not to receive. But the second half of the month, the moon is concerned with receiving. And the more it receives from the moon, from the sun, the less it is able to give over. Huh? You just take a simple example. Let's say that there's a big professor, he teaches his pupils, and one day there comes into the city the great grand professor, the great grand genius, right? He comes in, great grand genius, he comes in. Let's say there's a professor, just for the example, in physics, and he's giving a class and one day Einstein comes into them, and he's giving a class. And so the teacher goes to hear Einstein, who's like the super, physicist, and he listens to him. One of his pupils comes over to him in the middle of the lecture, says, "Can you explain this?" Shh, I'm listening. When you're receiving new things, you can't give over. You're occupied in receiving. in it's called Aidi the Torah, the Mivla, Lo Mivla, that while you're busy taking in, can't go. So the moon in the second half of the month is so busy taking in from the sun, it's closer to the sun, it's taking in from the sun, so it can't give over. So therefore, the darkness to us implies that the moon is receiving more and more from the sun. That's the second half of the month. The first half of the month, when the moon gets bigger, is implying that the moon is distancing itself from the sun, and the more it distances itself from receiving from the sun, the more it has an ability to give to us. Yesh lomar, so we can say Shakiruv the Lavana, that the moon becomes close to the sun in the second half of the month. This is not just in order that the moon should renew its connection to the sun, mashpio makabel, the receiver, the giver and the receiver, be'amoled hachodesh she'achrezeh, so that it prepares itself to give birth to a new month afterwards, by means of it getting smaller and smaller in the last half of the month, kipoked moshavecha, kadei, in order sheyochel kabel hashpa nalit yoter me'mashpia. It's in order. Just 1 second. Give me 1 moment. Yeah, right. That's a good. Nifkarata. In other words, the second half of the month is not only a preparation for the months coming after it, so that it'll give over more. This is a thing on its own, sheshayech beikar, mainly to the month which comes after it. But the main thing is the moon wants to come close to the essence, which is above even the light of the sun itself. Okay, so like let's give our example, right? You have the professor, and he gives over to classes. He hears that Einstein is coming, so he goes to a seminar given by Einstein, and he gets whole new ideas, insights into physics, and now he can be a better teacher. He can come and be a better teacher, right? That's one thing. He can be a better teacher now, right? But here, that's just an example. Here we're talking about God. The moon coming close to the sun, that's like us coming close to God. It's like us coming close to God. It says that the moon comes close to the sun is not only to enable it to give over a new type of light in the next semester, like the professor with Einstein, to improve his ability to teach. But here we're talking about coming close, not to a professor or whatever, not for the purpose of giving over more. Here we're saying that the moon comes close to the sun in order to get close to the essence of the sun, not just the light of the sun, but the sun itself. To be more exact, we're making an example between the Jewish people and God. So that the Jewish people come closer to God, it's not just to receive more light from God, more spirituality, more inspiration, more blessing, but to be closer to God, to be closer to reality itself. So to speak, that there should be one crown for both of them. Shehakiruv, the darga, zem, mitpates, mute, or. Therefore, it expresses itself in a less, the closer the moon gets to the sun, it receives more, and it shines out less to us. But the main thing is not in order to receive light, it's because it's closer to the essence. Sha'etzem hu behelim, that the essence is concealed. Helam shalamayla megiloi. Barak ha'ora mi'a'etzem mitkale ba'or. Only a ray of the essence is close to the sun, to the light. So what's it saying? True, when the moon is close to the sun, we don't get light from the sun, but we get the essence of the sun, because the essence of the sun is above light. So therefore, the lessening of light that comes to us from day to day This comes to show that the moon is getting close to the essence of the sun, not just of the light of the sun. And that essence, it does give over to us. By means of this, Nasir al-Lavana kamu chama. By means of this, the moon becomes like the sun itself until there's one crown to both of them. Just think, when the moon gets closer to the sun, you would think that the light to us increases, but it doesn't increase. The light becomes less. The Rebbe is saying, why does the light becomes less? Because the essence becomes more. The essence becomes more. It's almost like a thing. Let's take a father and a son. Father loves his son. Father loves his son. But if something, let's say his son is taken into prison, and he comes back, when the son is taken into prison, he's far away, then the essence of his son is felt by the father. People that, God forbid, they lose a child. They lose a child. So if the child had any sort of personality whatsoever, right? If they had, the child was, more than any sort of a character whatsoever. So when that child is gone, the father doesn't long for just the child's smile or this. He longs for the essence. The essence comes through. So sometimes something being farther away reveals not just the light, the aspects of it. Other people can also smile. Other people can also, could be people that are more handsome than the lost child, but it's his child. So the essence shines through. The essence shines. So it says the Rebbe the same thing over here. The fact that the moon gets close to the sun and it doesn't shine light, it means that when it gets closer to the sun, it's not concerned with light anymore. It's concerned with the source of the light. And the source of the light is darkness. It's above light. And that it gives over. Therefore, the moon becomes darker. So the light decreases, but the essence increases. Even deeper, says the Rebbe. Haklal, this general principle that the essence is concealed and light is revealed, this is in relation to others. Because you can't receive the essence, only just a little ray of it. So therefore, we call a ray of the essence light. And the essence we call darkness. But in regard to the essence of a thing, it's exactly the opposite. That a ray of it, that's considered to be darkness in regard to the essence. The essence, that's light. In other words, the essence of a thing is above being revealed. So the more that the essence is revealed, the less light comes out of it. It's just essence being revealed. I'll just take the example a little bit more. A father, his son is taken into prison. Let's say he's taken into imprisonment. They was taken, they're captive, like that. The Hamas, they take these people, right? So the parents long for their children long for their parents, right? And then they release them. They come out. Meanwhile, while the person is in captivity, the longing of the child for his father who is in prison, the longing becomes even greater. And it's not for any aspect of his father. It's not because his father had a nice smile, or his father had a good sense of humor, his father was intelligent, his father helped him. To the essence of what his father is. The essence of what his father is. The true truth of the matter of what his father is. That's a whole new thing the Rebbe is trying to say, that there is such a thing as an essence. I mean, you should know that generally speaking, in psychology, they deny that there's anything like that. They deny that there's anything genuine, essential. Everything is just a product of something else. Everything is ulterior motives. And here the Rebbe is saying, no, there's an essence love of a father to a son, of a son to a father, of even between human beings. You can love a person's essence. Just the fact that a person is a human being, creation of God, that's lovable. That itself is lovable. What the person does, that's a secondary. So let's say this person, his father was in captivity. His father comes back, right? And he says, okay, what would you like your father to do? just be here, just to be here. That's all. Would you like him to say something, maybe to talk, maybe to give over his ideas? Just that can come afterwards. Just to be here. The essence is what I want. That's all they want. Says the same thing is the darkness that brings out the essence. Then the essence really shines. Says from this we can understand that the same thing with the Jews and God, that the fact that there's less light means that there's more essence revealed. Namely, we know that there is a thing in itself. All the time that the sun and the moon are two separate things, at the etzem, then you can't receive the essence. That's when the moon is full, it shines to us. That means all we get is light. When they unify when the moon unifies with the sun, namely it's close until the way that that becomes shenasa kamoa mashpia, then the moon becomes unified with the sun, then there's no relationship between them of a giver and receiver. Both of them become equal. What does it mean become? That's what it says. The light of the moon becomes like the light of the sun. Then the essence is revealed. Because the sun, we can't receive the essence of the sun. All we can receive is the light of the sun. And even the light of the sun can be reflected by the moon. But when does the moon reflect not the light of the sun, but the essence of the sun? That's the second half of the month, when all we see is darkness. According to this, so now we can say that the lessening of the moon in the second half of the month, this is only lessening in the level of the light of the moon. Because mipenei, just 1 second. I'm sorry, that's right. Because the second half of the month, when the moon gets light lesser and lesser, this is only a lessening of the light of the moon, just a ray of the moon, because it's close to the essence which is above any sort of shining of a low miut, but it's not limiting the revelation of the essence. In the second half of the month, when the moon is dark, it is revealing the essence of the sun, which the essence of the sun is the source of the light that comes from it, but it's not light, it's above light. Since the essence is more and more revealed, therefore, the moon increases therefore, the date of the month increases in number. The Jewish people, they count the dates according to the moon. So why is it that the first half of the month, the dates get bigger, right? The first, second, third, fourth, it gets to the 15th. In the second half of the month, it should be the numbers go down. They should go smaller, right? Because the moon is getting smaller, so it gets smaller. But they don't. The numbers get bigger. So why do they get bigger? Because the first half of the month, that's just talking about the revelation, the light that comes from the moon. But the second half of the month, there's an addition, the essence that comes from the moon. The second days of the month, because Kivin Shaholech Venosef, because there's more revealed of the essence of what the sun is before it gives any light out. That's above any sort of revelation. So now we can say that this is especially stressed in the month of Kislev. Especially stressed in the month of Kislev. What's this over here we got? This is especially stressed in the month of Kislev. The month of Kislev is the third month of the winter months. This is corresponding to the third month of the summer months. What's the summer months? The summer months are the months that come after Tishrei, after Rosh Hashanah. I'm sorry, months that come after Passover. That's the summer months. The months that come after Passover, that's the third month after Passover. The third of the summer months is the month when the Torah was given. Sivan, Yarcha Talitai, the third month. This corresponds to the third of the winter months. Kislev, also the Torah was given. Which Torah? Chassidut. It was given on Yutet Kislev. That this is the Rosh Hashanah, this is the day of the giving of the Torah of Hasidut. What does this mean? Since that the giving of the Torah is the birthday, is the marriage day of God with the Jewish people. It says when God gave the Torah, that's his wedding day, when he gave the Torah. King Solomon says it in the Song of Songs. Yom Chatunuto, B'Yom Simchat Libo, was the day that God gave the Torah to the Jewish people. He married the Jews. He elevated the Jews that they became his wife. Asher Hatchalat, at the beginning of this, is in a way that God, he was the giver, he was the groom, and the Jewish people, they're the receiver, they're the bride. But the ultimate purpose of this is when God and the Jewish people become one. That the Jewish people do not need, so to speak, to receive from God. Why? Yisrael, because it will be revealed that the Jews and God are totally one. That's what it means. The Jews are the sons of God. Huh? So, like I said, there's one religion that's based on this idea that there's a Jew that's the son of God. 2 billion people, 2.5 billion people go crazy for this idea. There's a human being that he is God in the world. Well, this idea is a true idea. This is a true idea. In that case, it was a lie, but every lie has to have truth to it. It was true. The fact is, there is such a thing as the Son of God, and the Son of God is God in the world, and that's all the Jewish people. All these prophecies in Isaiah that talk about his son and he suffered, it's talking about the Jewish people. And here the Rebbe is saying that that's ideally what's going to be in the days of the Moshiach, that the Jewish people, they will be God in the world. That's called the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is Am Yisrael. What is it? Knesset Yisrael, that's the Shekhinah. That's God's presence, is the Jews. That's why in the Talmud, that's why the Talmud is considered to be holy. Even though the Talmud is just opinions of all these rabbis. Rabbi Meir says, Rabbi Akiva says, Rabbi this, where's God? He says, that's God. These are the Divrei Elokim Chaim. The words of these rabbis are God in the world. That's what the rabbis are. The Divrei Elokim Chaim. You do it like it's known, and there's arguments over there because God is dynamic. But in the future, this is going to be revealed by every Jew in the world. It says that all the rabbis in the Talmud had the power to raise the dead. If you do it like it says, that's the number 3. The number 3, this indicates on the joining and the unification of one, the upper worlds and the lower worlds. Upper worlds is God. God is one. He's the first. The lower worlds are like number 2. God created them. But unifying them together, that's number 3. Shenasim Metzius Echad, that they become one. That's what it means. The world will be filled with the awareness of God. It says even stones will call out. Stones will call out, will speak the word of God. According to this, we can explain that the completion of the moon, when we say that the moon is full on the 14th and the 15th day of the 3rd month, this month, Kislev, this is the month when the Torah was given. Which Torah? Chassidut, inner Torah. This is the real marriage of God and the Jewish people. This is made the completion of, this completes the marriage which began on Shavuot, 3 months after Passover. That's the marriage of God and the Jewish people. And then this month, Kislev, this is the 3rd month unifying 1 and 2, God and the Jewish people. And the light of the moon will be the light of the sun. Shalavana, that the moon, which is the Jewish people, will not need any more to receive from the sun, from God. Since, because there'll be one thing, that's the idea of the Jewish people and God are one. Now, this idea seems to be a bit strange and a bit weird, and it really is strange. It really is weird because we're living in such a tremendous lie. The world is so false And it feels so incredibly true that it seems that there's no other reality but the world. These words that he's talking about are something like from where did this come from, right? This is not real. What's real to us? There is a world, and we believe there's also God. We believe there's also God. But big tzaddikim, they know that it's not so, that really the essence is God. And they believe that there's a world. The world is a creation. The idea of Moshiach is that the world is as real as God is. That the reality of God is revealed through every creation that God is making in the world, because God is making the world from his essence. The world is not just an accident that God made in order for a testing ground to go to heaven. This world is the essence. And if anything, heaven is the testing ground. Heaven is the place where everything gets refined and purified, and there's hell and all this stuff. But the main thing is this physical world. And when that's revealed, so we'll see that the godly intention in everything, or in the godliness in everything in the world, is revealed. And that'll be revealed when the Jewish people and God are one. That's the whole idea of the wedding of God and the Jewish people. That's the third month. Number 3, God, who's one, and the Jews, which are number 2, become unified as one. That's the number 3. And that happens in this month when the essence is revealed. If so, the middle of the month is the middle of the month is the day when the revelation of God, that's the world, and the essence of God, that's God, which that's the darkness, the second half, that's when they're united together. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Yeah.